Welcome to the Hope for Today podcast. Today is day 23.
It is wonderful to be back with you. And today we are turning a very significant page in the story.
We really are. I mean, if you think about where we've been, it's just been nonstop, high-octane drama.
Totally. The 10 plagues, the midnight escape.
A parting of the Red Sea, Pharaoh's army being destroyed. It felt like a blockbuster movie.
Exactly. That was the rescue phase. It was loud. It was visual. It was miraculous. But today, as we open Exodus chapters 16, 17, and 18, the credits have kind of rolled on that movie.
Right.
The special effects have settled down, and now the reality show of survival begins.
The honeymoon phase is officially over.
In a big way. And to really get the mindset here, we had to look at the timeline. The text is very specific about this.
Okay.
It says they came to the desert of Sin on the 15th day of the second month after they left Egypt.
So 1 month. They've been on the road for exactly 1 month.
1 month. And just think about that transition. They just left a place called Elim. Do you remember what Elim was like?
Oh, yeah. Elim was paradise. 12 springs, 70 palm trees. It was an oasis.
Right. And now they step into the desert of Sin. And just to be clear for everyone listening, that's Sin, S-I-N, the place name.
Not the moral failure, though. We'll get to that.
We'll see plenty of that too, yeah. But this is a harsh, rocky place. The supplies they carried out of Egypt, they're gone. The matzah is finished.
And this is where the theology of the Exodus gets really, really practical. I mean, it's one thing to believe God can defeat Pharaoh.
Yes.
It's another thing entirely to believe he can, run a grocery store in the middle of a wasteland.
That is the absolute crux of the issue. The theme shifts from rescue to reliance, and the people's reaction is immediate. Chapter 16 opens with a full-blown crisis.
And it's not just a few people complaining.
No, the text says the whole community grumbled against Moses and Aaron.
And their complaint is, honestly, it's shocking. They look back at Egypt with these rose-colored glasses.
Total revisionist history, isn't it?
Yeah. They say, if only we had died in Egypt. There we sat around pots of meat and ate all we wanted.
Like they were at a buffet. I mean, we know from just a few chapters ago they were groaning under the lash, making bricks without straw.
Fearing for their lives.
There's a place of death. But hunger has this way of distorting your memory. It makes the past look better just because it was predictable.
They're essentially saying security in slavery is better than insecurity in freedom.
That is the core conflict of the wilderness. Freedom is terrifying when you don't know where your next meal is coming from.
And they accuse Moses of bringing them out there to starve them to death. It's an accusation of, attempted genocide.
It is. Now, you might expect God to just be furious here. They're questioning his motives right after he saved them.
Right, you'd expect fire and brimstone.
But he doesn't do that. And I love this about the passage. God seems to distinguish between rebellion and genuine distress. He knows they're scared.
He knows they're hungry.
Exactly. So instead of a plague, he sends a promise. He says, I will rain bread from heaven for you.
But, and here's where it gets really interesting, it's not just a free lunch. There are rules. There's a system attached. God calls it a test.
Yes, he says, in this way I will test them and see whether they will follow my instructions.
This is so critical. The manna wasn't just about nutrition. It was about reformatting their minds.
How so?
Well, you have to remember, they have a slave mindset. A slave mindset is all about scarcity. It's about hoarding, grabbing what you can because you don't know if you'll get more.
And God introduces this system of daily dependence.
He does. The rule was simple, but so difficult. Go out every morning and gather only enough for that day. An omer per person.
Which is about 2 liters, right? A decent amount of food.
It is. It's sustenance. But the psychological test was the limit. The human instinct, especially when you're starving, is to stockpile.
You want to grab everything you can just in case. Secure your own future.
And God says, no, do not keep any of it until morning. He's forcing them to trust that he'll provide again tomorrow. Just trust him for today.
But of course, some people didn't listen. Of course not. They tried to save some overnight. And the result was, well, it was visceral. The text says it bred maggots and began to smell.
Oh, that's such a gross, vivid image.
It had to be. It was a physical lesson that hoarding grace rots. Trying to control the future by clutching onto today's provision. It just leads to decay.
But there was one exception to this don't hoard rule, and this is a huge moment.
The 6th day. This is the first time the Sabbath principle is really put into practice for the nation, even before the 10 Commandments.
So on the 6th day, they gathered double.
And that portion, miraculously, did not rot overnight. It stayed fresh.
Which proves the rotting wasn't just a natural process.
It was a divine signal. The lesson is so profound. God provides for our rest. If you don't trust God to provide for the seventh day, you will never actually rest.
It's God saying, I am not Pharaoh. Pharaoh's message was work, work, work.
More bricks, no straw, never stop.
Yeah.
Yeah. God's message is stop, rest. I can do more for you in 6 days than you can do for yourself in 7.
I also love the description of the food itself. It appeared like dew. It was like thin flakes of frost, and it tasted like wafers with honey.
Sounds pretty good, actually. But the name itself, manna, captures the mystery of it. It comes from the Hebrew phrase, manhu.
Which means?
What is it?
So they were literally eating, what is it, for breakfast, lunch, and dinner?
For 40 years, they were eating a daily mystery. And to make sure they never forgot this, Aaron is told to put an omer of it in a jar to be kept.
A memorial, a testimony.
A testimony for all future generations. Look at this jar. This is how God fed us when we had absolutely nothing. It's a challenge to every generation. Do you trust the source, or do you only trust your own stockpile?
So chapter 16 handles hunger. But as we move into chapter 17, they hit the next crisis, and it's even more urgent: thirst.
Right. They get to a place called Rephidim, and there's no water. Dehydration kills way faster than starvation, so the panic sets in immediately.
And the grumbling escalates. It's not just complaining now. The text says they quarreled with Moses.
To the point where Moses cries out to God, "What am I to do? They are almost ready to stone me."
Wow.
That's how desperate it was. And listen to the question they ask. This is the defining question of their whole wilderness journey. Is the Lord among us or not?
That cuts deep. They're basically equating their comfort with God's presence. If we're suffering, God must be gone.
It's a trap we all fall into. But God's response is amazing. He tells Moses to take his staff,
The same staff from Egypt.
the very same one, the staff that turned the Nile to blood, the staff of judgment. But here, God tells him to take that staff of judgment and strike the rock.
And when you strike something, you expect it to break, to be judged.
Exactly. But here, the strike releases life. Water flows out from this dead rock. It's a total reversal of the Nile plague. There, water became death. Here, a rock becomes life.
But Moses still names the place Massa and Meribah, testing and quarreling.
Yes, it's a scar on the map. It marks the spot where their trust failed, even though God's provision didn't. A reminder that God is faithful even when we're not.
Okay, so Rephidim is a busy place because right after the water crisis, they get their first external military threat: the Amalekites attack.
This is a major shift. Think about it. Up to now, God has done all the fighting. At the Red Sea, Moses told them, "The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still."
But not here. Here, they have to pick up swords.
Exactly. And we get introduced to Joshua for the first time. Moses puts him in charge of the army, but the battle strategy is, well, it's pretty unconventional.
That's putting it mildly.
It's a two-front battle, really. You have Joshua in the valley with the sword, doing the physical fighting, but the text makes it clear the outcome isn't decided in the valley.
It's decided on the hill.
On the hill where Moses is standing with the staff of God. And we get this incredible image. As long as Moses held up his hands, Israel was winning.
But when he lowered them, the Amalekites started winning.
It's such a powerful picture of dependence,
Yeah.
saying that the sword, human effort, strategy, it's necessary. Joshua had to fight, but it's not sufficient. Victory depends on that appeal to heaven, the lifted hands of prayer.
But Moses is human. This is what I find so relatable. He gets tired.
Of course, you can't hold your arms up for hours. And this is where that whole Lone Ranger style of leadership just dies. Moses cannot win this by himself. He needs Aaron and Hur.
And I love what they do. It's so practical. They don't just shout encouragement.
No, they don't say, "Come on, Moses, have more faith." They see a physical need and they meet it. They get a stone for him to sit on.
And then they physically hold his arms up, one on each side. They steady his hands until sunset.
It's this beautiful picture of community. You need the warrior in the valley, the intercessor on the hill, and the supporters holding him up. It takes everyone to win.
And when it's over, Moses builds an altar. He calls it Jehovah Nissi, the Lord is my banner.
And a banner in ancient warfare was your rallying point. In the chaos, you look up for the banner to know who you are fighting for.
So Moses is saying, God is our rallying point. He is our victory.
Exactly. So let's just recap. Chapter 16, God provides food.
Yeah.
Chapter 17, he provides water and victory. Now, chapter 18 brings a totally different kind of provision.
Wisdom.
Yes, and it comes through a family reunion. Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, shows up. He brings Moses' wife, Zipporah, and his 2 sons.
And the sons' names are so significant, aren't they?
They're like mini biographies. The first is Gershom, which means I have become a foreigner in a foreign land. That's Moses' exile.
And the second?
Eliezer. My father's God was my helper. He saved me from the sword of Pharaoh.
He wrote his testimony right into his kid's name.
He did. So Jethro arrives, and Moses tells him everything. And Jethro, this Midianite priest, makes this huge declaration. Now I know that the Lord is greater than all other gods.
It's a conversion moment. The testimony worked.
It's a high point. But then the next morning, Jethro watches Moses go to work. And it's a disaster.
Yeah, he's sitting as the judge for 2 million people. From morning until evening, the line must have been endless.
It's the ultimate bottleneck. And Jethro, the experienced leader, sees it immediately. He's pretty blunt, too. He says, what you're doing is not good.
It's just strong words.
Very. He says, you will wear yourself out, and these people too. It's a lose-lose. Moses is heading for burnout, and the people are getting frustrated.
And Jethro proposes a structure, basically an org chart for the judicial system.
A hierarchy. Appoint capable men over thousands, hundreds, fifties, and tens. Let them handle the simple disputes. Only the really difficult cases should bubble up to you, Moses.
And the hiring criteria he gives is all about character.
Completely. Men who fear God, men of truth, and men who hate dishonest gain. In other words, they can't be bribed. Your integrity is everything.
What's remarkable is that Moses listens. I mean, this is the guy who talks to God, who split the sea. But he takes advice from his father-in-law.
That is true meekness. His spiritual resume didn't make him unteachable. He was drowning. Jethro threw him a lifeline, and he took it.
And the result is order. The camp is now structured and ready for what's next, which is Sinai.
Exactly. That wisdom was a provision, just as much as the manna was. So if you look at these 3 chapters together, 16, 17, and 18, you see this progression.
A progression of God filling all the gaps.
It's a triptych of provision. Chapter 16, the gap is hunger, so God provides manna. The what? Chapter 17, the gap is safety, so God provides water and victory. The protection.
And chapter 18, the gap is chaos, so God provides wisdom and structure. The how.
And in every single case, the solution required them to admit they were empty and couldn't do it themselves.
That seems to be the big takeaway. The wilderness is designed to exhaust your self-sufficiency.
It is. You can't hoard food. You have to trust for tomorrow. You can't win a battle alone. You need your hands held up. You can't lead a nation alone. You have to share the burden.
It's like that manna rule is the motto for this whole section. Gather only enough for today.
It's the antidote to anxiety, isn't it? Anxiety is always about trying to control tomorrow. God is saying, I'm a present tense God. I will give you grace for this moment.
And that's a hard lesson. We all need to remember the track record of God's faithfulness so we don't panic when we hit our own desert.
Absolutely. And maybe, just maybe, we need the humility to listen to a Jethro in our lives who tells us, what you're doing is not good.
That might be the hardest lesson of all taking good advice.
It just might be. But it's all part of the journey from that big rescue to a daily reliance on God.
Well, there is so much there. Whether it's the daily bread, the lifted hands, or the shared burden, the call is clearly to trust.
Amen to that.
And that was it for day 23. Meet you on day 24 tomorrow.